first segment of the news is brought to you by KFC.
Police confirming this evening that another bank has been robbed in broad daylight. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Anthea Smith, and this is your JCN Evening News. It's Monday, September 16th, 2013. As always, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Actually, police this evening tasked with now trying to find the culprit who robbed the Scotiabank on East Street South and in another instance robbed a Scotiabank customer at another location. According to head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, the robbery at the bank's East Street South location happened just after 2 p.m.
Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding an alleged armed robbery at the Scotiabank branch at East Street and Soldier Road, and we'll be making a fuller statement later as we're able to make a full determination as to exactly what happened. I'm not at liberty at this stage of the game to provide much more than that, other than to confirm that in fact there was an alleged robbery there.
And just 30 minutes later, Rose says a customer of Scotiabank's Jerome Avenue location was also robbed. It's unclear if these incidents are related.
Around 2:30, we received reports of another robbery that took place in the parking lot of the other bank at Wolf Road and Jerome Avenue, where a customer had pulled up in his vehicle, and as he was about to exit the vehicle, he was accosted by a lone male who produced a handgun and took his Honda vehicle from him. As the male attempted to drive off, he collided into the sidewalk just near to Wolf Road. He exited the vehicle and ran into the Johnson Alley area. We have a team of officers now trying to locate him.
Police investigations are ongoing, and they promise to update the media as soon as more information becomes available. In news from the courts, a mother was seen and heard screaming outside the magistrate's courtroom. Accused of her son's murder were escorted inside to face that charge. Our Kyle Joaquin was there. He filed this report.
22-year-old Bernard Hart and his 16-year-old brother appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt to face one count of murder. As the pair was brought inside the court, the victim's mother started screaming and shouting, saying that she won't ever get to see her son again. The woman became so hysterical at one point that she could not enter the courtroom. The duo was charged with murdering 20-year-old Don Joseph, who was gunned down through Broome Street on September 3rd, but died in hospital the next day. The brothers were not required to enter a plea to the charge. Bernard, the elder brother, told the magistrate that he had been receiving death threats from prison inmates at Her Majesty's prison and asked that he be sent somewhere else. However, the magistrate told him that he and his brother would be on remand at Her Majesty's prison in maximum security at the Western Wing until December 11th, when they would return to court to be served a voluntary bill of indictment. Now, aside from the pair of brothers that appeared before the acting chief magistrate, a 41-year-old man was also arraigned on a separate charge of murder. 41-year-old Charles Williams also appeared before the acting chief magistrate to face one charge of murder. The man is believed to be behind the August 24th shooting death of 18-year-old Dion Moxey. You may recall Moxey was killed just a day after his brother, who was murdered on Potterskey Dock. Williams was not required to enter a plea and said that while he was being held at the Nassau Street Police Station, other prisoners in the cell threatened to kill him. When told that he would be sent to maximum security at Her Majesty's prison, he said he didn't want to go there as even that may not be safe enough. However, the magistrate placed him on remand at Her Majesty's prison until December 11th, when he will return to court via a voluntary bill of indictment. For JCN News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Meantime, the teen girl who escaped police custody this past summer was back in court today. You'd recall that the 15-year-old girl jumped through a window at the Grove Police Station while in custody after she was caught trying to rob a clothing store in the town's Central Mall. Last month, Acting Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt ordered that the girl be given a psychiatric evaluation while she was being held at Her Majesty's prisons. However, the magistrate says she has yet to receive that report. The girl says since being in custody, she has only seen a psychiatrist once, a situation the magistrate called unfortunate. The girl's attorney, Jeff Lloyd, reminded the court that his client is a student and is missing school, so he asked that she be returned to the custody of her parents and allowed to be visited by the Department of Social Services. However, the magistrate says the only thing she could do is to try to quickly get an evaluation done by Friday so that she can return home and to school. Otherwise, she would remain on remand at HMP until October 7th for a court hearing. Two Bahamian men have been rescued in the Gulf Stream 8 days after their boat capsized during a fishing trip. The pair in their late 50s were spotted clinging to a hull by a passing freighter, which alerted the U.S. Coast Guard. It dispatched a rescue helicopter from Air Station Miami. The men were found 2 hours later, 30 miles offshore between Boca Raton and West Palm Beach. Coast Guard rescue swimmer Kyle Stallings was lowered onto the overturned boat, where he found them in a desperate state, soaked to the bone, sunburned, and shaking uncontrollably. Mr. Stallings said they were really exposed and really deteriorating. They were both in tears. He says you could tell they were on their last straw of hope. In other news, over the past several weeks, rumors have swirled that Prime Minister Perry Christie was getting set to shuffle his cabinet, but it seems that won't be happening anytime soon. Speaking with reporters outside Kemp Road Ministries yesterday, Mr. Christie said several of his ministers are right in the middle of initiating some new things.
We are so close in so many areas that I really don't want to disrupt ministers who have taken some time to get involved in initiating new policy matters for the country. And you know, it's difficult to go and disrupt them now because we are on timeline on so many different areas.
The Prime Minister says just this past Friday he met with officials from the University of Miami. Both sides are in discussions over stem cell research. At last report, researchers had submitted an outline that they wish to contribute to the Bahamas.
We are going to move to the next stage in those meetings and ultimately and soon we're going to be able to announce to the Bahamas exactly what has developed as a result of the commitments we made to collaborate with each other, not just on stem cells, but on the delivery of health care wherever we need support in the Bahamas.
Now, apart from ongoing talks on the health front, Mr. Christie noted that there is also the economy. In fact, he says he's hoping to announce another development as early as this week. Well, the Prime Minister also responding to claims that Cuban-American protesters are ready to take their demonstrations to the Miami International Airport, all in a bid to injure the Bahamas' tourism industry, in the wake of alleged report of Cuban detainees being abused here. But the Prime Minister isn't buying into any of it. In fact, he says Bahamians were actually planning to stage a counter-demonstration of their own. The protesters want the government to own up to the findings of an alleged report detailing the abuse of Cuban detainees at the Carmichael Road Detention Center. As for when that report is expected to be released, Mr. Christie said very soon.
Dr. Nottage is superintending the process, and so it would seem to me that the Defense Force who conducted the investigation would now, if not complete, just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. In other words, that they should be very near a completion of the process.
In time, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell releasing a statement confirming the most recent round of demonstrations by that same Cuban-American group last Friday. However, the minister notes that there was no security issue with regard to the demonstration. He adds that the business of the Consulate General continued without interruption, and at no time, he says, were Consul General Ricardo Trico nor his staff in harm's way. Mr. Mitchell says the group is seeking to take aim at the economic interests of the Bahamas, which he is calling nothing short of economic blackmail. From statements over the weekend, Mr. Mitchell says it now appears that both government and the opposition in the country agree that these protests are not in the best interests of the Bahamas. Well, that brings us up to our first break. Stay with us, though. There's more JCN News next.
The first segment of the news was brought to you by KFC.